let's talk about let's talk of a negative example. Let's say deepfakes. It's very easy now to create something out of thin air, and you're ruining somebody's reputation and so on. How should we think about that, Doc?
I think fundamentally, eventually, I'm not seeing it yet, but I think eventually people will have to kind of reorient their attitude towards whatever they see online, because we've had what, at least two maybe 3 decades of kind of allowing the online experience, social media, to take over kind of the real life experience. I mean, you know this as a journalist, so we've had that kind of direction or trajectory. Now we have to short of stop, and I don't know if we do a 180, because now what we're seeing online will be infiltrated and proliferated by basically manufactured content. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad content, but it's not content written by humans. That's fundamentally a big change. So we need to be aware now that moving forward, a lot of what we read online could have been done by an AI, maybe at the behest of a human, and the intent will be murkier. You know, that was always the challenge with deepfakes. How do you know if John Nery really said this? And my advice was always look at the intent. If John Nery is saying something that doesn't seem like something John Nery would say, then you filter. But
It's
now,
very philosophical.
yeah, but is he attacking Doc Ligot for that matter? But now, AI could do it in a way that, just say, do it in the way John Nery would do it. So now there's no way to tell. So I think there may be this counter movement towards, okay, let's not trust 100% what we see online. We now need to start talking to actual real people. I've seen that a little bit of that come through some of the news, that people are now seeking actual, tangible, tactile experiences outside of the online domain, partly driven by this trend that everything is now manufactured. But then, to double down on what Michelle said, there's an interim opportunity for people during this transition period. Okay, I'm a copywriter. Rather than fear for my job, I'll just 10x my copywriting output, and I'll make a little bit of money on the side if I do that. And graphics, video, the same way. I think it's really the guardrails that are throwing us off. If there's no way to know if a manufactured image, it's not like altered images once upon a time. If an image was altered, you can in a way detect there was someone changed it or superimposed a face on it. Now the whole thing is completely manufactured, and you have to clearly state this is satire. So the rules on that, it's really tempting potential regulation on, free speech if we're not careful. But I think that the pervasiveness is really the challenge. Anyone can do it with very, very little resources.
That reminds me of what you said. Really, one of the highlights of last week's National Summit was that session on creatives. Because especially the visual artists, I think they'll have a rougher time now. I mean, in the very near future than, let's say, even journalists. Although we don't particularly see it as a bright future. I mean, we still have to work our way through that. But the visual artists, I think, they will be under a lot of pressure. I was struck by something that Professor Ben Tihanki said in the summit. He said he offered 2 guideposts. He said alignment and safety. You have to make sure that the AI tech is aligned with human values, with priorities, and so on. And you have to certify it as safe. Maybe we can spend the last few minutes just talking about that. So, how do you? Can we have a test case like certifying something as safe? How do we do that? What should be? I mean, I can really see AAP taking the lead there. How can we do that?
Well, there are inspirations from existing like standards. Like one of the things we're reviewing right now is how do we implement like ISO type standards for AI.
Okay.
And that's based on global consensus, which gives you some comfort. But at the same time, even if you had standards, how would you use them? And maybe we can use privacy as an example. There's this privacy impact assessment instrument. That's not necessarily a hard regulation. You don't have to do it. But many people use it as part of procurement. So in a way, it safeguards the implementation of these systems. Doesn't stop bad systems from getting implemented, but at least you have some accountability. So maybe that route is a viable one for AI. So it's not so much curtailing research, which is the kind of the double-edged blade. If you restrict research, you lose out on innovation. Yeah, but so by all means, do your research. But you will not be able to implement that in a large scale, like in a public company or public organization or even a private sector organization, without fulfilling some sort of a checklist. I think that's a good, in a way, compromise. And at the same time, it really begs the creation of, I guess AAP can be the seed of it, but we really need multilateral cooperation here because no one can claim to have like 100%, impact or knowledge of this. And sectors that, as Michelle said, previously unrepresented sectors need to speak up. Creatives is one. Of course, schools, jobs, labor is another. And I think more than just jobs, I think it has something to do with, society at large. How do we police this stuff? Who do you complain to? Even in privacy issues, most people actually are at a loss. Do they approach the police? Do they go to the NPC? How far does that go? As opposed to kind of more, I would say, familiar crimes where, it's a clear cut, I'm going to go to court and sue this person. AI is kind of a murky thing. Well, the good news is I think UP Law has started to release a series of legal courses. It's actually open to non-lawyers where they're looking at potential legal dimensions to AI. So I was very happy to hear that. These are like new things that we need to start talking about if we want to approach that kind of level of safety.